So did President Biden just give in to Russia? Well, we're going to address that in today's video because some say yes, he did. We're also going to talk about the stimulus checks that would be coming from large oil companies. We're also going to dive into supply chain issues and how many expect the supply chain will actually get worse. So make sure you stick around for all that in today's video. But first, I want to do something before I update you on what's going on currently. Now, many people are frustrated that what they hear on this channel or other channels or really anywhere on social media is not what they're hearing on mainstream media. And I understand that. I understand the frustration. But just understand that mainstream media is only allowed to give you really one side of the story. And it really depends on who you listen to. CNN, they're going to be giving you the story about Democrats are doing this. Everything's going good. Everything's for Democrats. Then you got Fox News, who's more Republican, where they're like, Democrats are really making things worse. That oil prices are going to shoot to the sky, right? And you get that. So each one's giving one side of the story, and sometimes they don't tell you what you really need to know. And that's one of the reasons why I continue to do multiple updates here on this channel, is to give you these facts and these updates. And just understand, I'm always going to give you multiple angles to every story because there are multiple angles. All right? Keep that in mind. And again, whether you listen to me on this channel or you'd rather listen to somebody else, that doesn't matter. Honestly, do I want you here? Obviously I do. But at the same time, I want you to get the facts. Okay? So consider getting your news from individuals here on YouTube and people that I really like. Again, CNN, Fox News, a lot of different mainstream media outlets have some great information, but at the same time, they don't give you everything. So use somebody that does put it all together. Okay, I do that. People like, and some of the people that I really like to watch are Stephen Gardner, Clear Value Tax, even Morning Invest, and they do a live show every morning. Okay, I think it's like 6 or 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time is when they do it. I think it's 6 a.m. And they do this every morning, Monday through Friday. Great little show. So consider watching some of those as well, because that can keep you more into the loop of what's currently going on without giving you all the fluff. And, you got to vote for Democrat. Oh, vote for Republican, because that's kind of what you're going to get, on Fox News and CNN. So just wanted to throw that out there because I know a lot of people are frustrated that they're not hearing everything. And how come Fox News didn't tell me that? Why didn't CNN tell me that? But I'm hearing that from you. Is it even true? And it's true what I tell you, but sometimes they're not going to give you all that, all right? So just keep that in mind. Now, one thing I want to know, does anybody hear the speech that President Biden gave today to Democrats? I ask this because, to me, President Biden pretty much just gave in to Russia. Because what happened is President Biden pretty much gave in to them, allowing them to take over Ukraine. And I want to talk about this because here's what he said. And this is pretty nerve-wracking for Ukraine. But this is what President Biden said. Let me quote this. As we provide the support to Ukraine, we're going to continue to stand together with our allies in Europe and send an unmistakable message that we will defend every inch of NATO territory. If they move once, granted, if we respond, it is World War III. But we have a sacred obligation on NATO territory. Then he went on to say, we will not fight a third world war in Ukraine. So what did that just mean? Here's what it means. First, President Biden said that he is going to stand together with our allies in Europe and send this unmistakable message. He will defend every inch of NATO territory. Guess what? Ukraine is not NATO territory. He said we have a sacred obligation on NATO territory. Ukraine is not NATO territory. He said we will fight, we will provide support, but we will not fight the third world war in Ukraine. So if you're Russia, what did that just say? What does that mean? Have at it. Pretty much just have at it. That's what that means. So President Biden just today pretty much said, there you go. There's Ukraine. He also made it very clear, we are not going to create a no-fly zone over Ukraine. And there's a reason for that. And I want to explain what that is, because that is critical. If we have a no-fly zone over Ukraine and a Russian planes are coming in, right? Military are flying overhead. Well, how do you get them down? You don't just pull them over and they pull over to the side of the sky and they park there. That's not what happens. And you give them a ticket and say, hey, get back to Russia. That's not the way it works. Is if there's a no-fly zone, you get shot down. Well, what happens if we shoot down a Russian plane out of the sky? Guess what? It's going to be World War III in Russia or in Ukraine. So that's one of the issues there. So at this time, there's not a lot more that we can do here in the U.S. that's going to prevent Russia from invading into Ukraine and taking over. So that's the worry there, is this war that's going on, it's going to continue, because really Russia, they threw all their eggs into one basket, and this is it. They have to go and get Ukraine. They can't back down now. So the only way Russia is going to leave is if Ukraine makes them leave. Now, we've seen videos, we've seen reports. Ukraine's doing the best they can, and hopefully everybody makes it out alive, but that's probably not going to happen. So we'll see. But I do want to address what some lawmakers are discussing today. And I want to bring this up because it's regarding gas prices. The two things that the American people are so worried about. Number one is inflation, which we learned the other day. It's at 7.9%. And some are expecting we are going to see inflation at 9% next month. So in a month, we're going to see inflation at 9%. We could easily see inflation at 10 to 11% in just 2 months. That's a real worry. But one of the big causes is gas prices. Because as gas prices go up, not only does transportation go up, right? But gas prices affect everything. You want to go get a sandwich at McDonald's? Well, it's probably going to cost you a little bit more. You want to order a pizza and have them deliver it? Well, it's going to cost you more. You want to get an Uber ride? Well, it's going to cost you more, because now they're charging a little gas incentive in there. There's a little bit of a boost to the gas prices. So got to pay more there as well. But some are saying that taking all of the shortages that we've seen in the United States, or really around the world, combining parts of what worked in the past, that's the starting point. Okay? That's what they're discussing. Now, you're probably thinking, oh, that's good news. Well, it could be. But here's the issue. Let's just look at what was done in the 1970s. Okay? So the 1970s, I think we had I wasn't alive then. I was actually born in the late 80s. But just understand, what we saw in the 70s, according to my research, again, I wasn't there. What we saw was, first, there was a 55 mile per hour speed limit that was put into place. That was across the nation. So that actually limited the amount of gasoline cars were using, because we weren't going faster than 55 miles per hour. Well, most people weren't. There was also a big thing that many people hated, but that was gas rationing. This was also mandated. And in many locations, you couldn't get more than 10 gallons per vehicle. And the reason for this was it limited the amount of gasoline people would put in their cars, which means they couldn't travel very far. But if they only had a certain amount of time, because you had long lines, but if you only had a certain amount of time, you went and put in 10 gallons of gas. Let's say you had the 1970s Mustang. I think it had like a 22 gallon tank. Well, if you were on empty, you go through, put your 10 gallons in, you could go around again and get another 10 gallons, but you had to get in the back of the line. And that created issues because, well, some people didn't want to wait another 30 minutes to an hour to go fill up again. But that was what happened in the 1970s. Now, what we're hearing is the gas tax holiday, right? People keep bringing this up. I keep bringing it up because lawmakers bring it up. Now, do I think this is a good solution? I think this is a temporary fix. But here's the big thing. If we don't see gas prices come down and they continue to go up, or they stay level, what happens is, as soon as we reinstate that gas tax, okay, and it goes back up, well, that's I think, was it Maryland? It's like 37 cents a gallon. So you go from, let's say, $4.50, and I don't even know if that's right in Maryland, but let's say it's $4.50 in Maryland. Well, then it'd be $4.87 the next day, because guess what? The gas tax holiday just expired, right? And that's something they're considering for just a 30-day period. So that would be a huge blow to the American people or people in Maryland. So that's something that we have to consider. It's still on the table. People are still discussing it, but it's not something that has a lot of support behind it. Now, something that did have a lot of support, or a decent amount of support, and the American people actually love this. I brought this up yesterday. There was multiple polls on this. I saw multiple articles written on this, but it was stimulus checks going out to the American people paid for by large oil companies. Now, this was considered a good move because what this would do is it would do one of two things, but technically it would do one of three things. It would do one of two things according to Representative Ro Khanna and Senator Whitehouse. But they both stated that what this proposal would do is it would actually either, one, oil companies would not charge as much for a barrel of oil because if they did charge too much, they'd be taxed more. The other thing was, well, what if they did do this, they did charge more, but they get charged a 50% tax? Well, no big deal. They'll just pay it to the American people. And according to the proposal sponsors, this was a great idea. But there's a third thing. Some say that it would actually lower the amount that the oil companies are going to charge. But there's the truth to the opposite effect of that as well, where oil companies actually charge more to make even more profit because they know, well, we got to pay 50% anyway. So why would we actually take less profit to pay less in taxes? I'd rather pay more in taxes because that means I made more in profit, right? And here's what experts are actually predicting, and this is very scary, is that currently the expectation is we're going to see gas prices nationally between $7 and $8. My guess is probably closer to $8 to $10, but we'll see. Hopefully not. But here's what experts are predicting. If this proposal were to go through, we could easily see gas prices go closer to $10 to $12 per gallon. How scary is that? We're going to see an increase between $3 to $4 per gallon just because of this proposal that would potentially bring the American people a stimulus check 4 times per year. It would be a quarterly stimulus check. But the expectation is, let's say gas prices, let's say the difference between the average gallon of gas between the 2015 to 2019 and today, let's say it's $120 a barrel, which is a pretty good amount of money. But let's say that's the difference. They'd be charged 50% of that, so $60 per gallon or per barrel. Now, what you need to keep in mind is $60. Well, you get four of these per year as an individual. That comes up to $240 a year. Well, if gas prices jump $3 to $4 a gallon, it doesn't matter if you get $240 or $260 per year. That's going to be peanuts. You're going to spend much more than that. So we'll see what happens there. But honestly, right now, lawmakers are trying to do whatever they can to do something to try to lower the cost of gas. And I don't know what lawmakers plan on doing that's actually going to work. But according to multiple experts, they predict that it's almost too late to fix this issue. And I know that's horrible news. You don't want to hear that, but that's the truth. So the expectation is we're going to have to live with high gas prices for the foreseeable future. I don't know how long that's going to be, but I promise I will be here every step of the way, and I will fill you in on all the updates that we get between now and then. Now, this is what experts say regarding travel, and I really want to bring this up for one main reason. I've been getting a lot of people that ask, well, what could I do? Because it's so stressful to put in $100 of gas every single week. What could I do? Well, it's interesting because I was actually reading or actually watching. I think it was like NBA something with Charles Barkley and Shaquille O'Neal and those guys, and they actually were talking about this. And Shaq brought up a very interesting point. And this is exactly what experts are saying as well. Let's say you drive your car and let's say it takes $100 in gas every single week, right? And it's going to be $100 in gas. Well, here's what you do. This is exactly what Shaquille O'Neal brought up as well. And let me know if you saw this segment. But he told Ernie or Kenny Smith that instead of waiting a whole week and putting $80 in, or in your case, let's say $100, just drive it for a few days and put in $20. And you'll get it back up to full. Okay? Drive it for another few more days and put in another $20 or $25, right? You're only going to get 5-6 gallons, but that's okay. Because in your mind mentally, you're okay with spending $25 because that's what you did, 2 years ago. Is you'd put in $25 and it would last you, let's say, almost a week or half a week. Well, let's say you have to put in $25, let's say 3 times a week. That's okay because in your mind it's only one additional time, but you're really not understanding the math because mentally you're not adding it all up. Oh man, I did get more gas 2 days ago. I shouldn't get gas today. No, you're not doing that. You're like, okay, I'm at a 3/4 of a tank. I'm just gonna fill it up. But what experts are saying is that mentally, you are prepared to put in that $20 to $25 or $40 or $50, whatever it is. But emotionally and mentally, physically, you don't want to slide your card or put in $100 in gas every single week. But if you break it into smaller sections, you're more likely to do it, and it takes less of an emotional toll on you because of this. Again, it's a mental trick, okay? That's all it is. But it works, okay? It does work. Now, I have a 2019 GMC Sierra thing. Isn't great on gas, okay? Not a great on gas. I also have a Yukon, GMC Yukon as well. And these things are not great on gas, okay? But here's what you need to understand. I don't drive very much. I just don't. But when I do drive, one of the things I also do is, okay, I just drove for 30 miles. Well, maybe that uses 2 gallons of gas or whatever. No big deal. Well, in a couple days, I'll just go fill it up, put another $30 in it, and I'll be fine. I'll get back to full. And that's one of the things I do as well, and I've always done this, is instead of filling my gas tank up completely, I like to break it down. Okay, I'm at a 1/4 of a tank, or I'm down a 1/4 of a tank. I'm just gonna fill it up. I'm down to half a tank. I'll just fill it up. So try that, because that could be something that would really help you out. Now let's talk about the worsening supply chain issues, because what we are hearing right now is that the Russian attack on Ukraine has actually halted the world's 2 largest suppliers in neon. Now, they actually produce about half the world's supply, which is a huge issue. And neon is actually one of the key components into making chips, which we have already seen a massive shortage of. Now, both of these companies, Ingas and Cryoin, they have shuttered their operations according to the company representatives. And experts worry that a prolonged closure would actually be catastrophic to the rest of the world, because it's not just chips that we use neon in. We use it in many things. Now, what we do know is that the world's largest chip manufacturer is actually in Taiwan. And they say that they have a safety stock of neon. So they aren't extremely worried, and they don't see a supply chain issue in the near future or in the near term for them. But they've also said that smaller manufacturers have reached out because they say they are already seeing a supply chain issue. So what I can tell you right now is if it comes to chips, the shortage that we've seen over the past 2 years is going to be nothing. That's going to be nothing. That's going to look like we had an overstock, because what we're going to see in the future could be devastating, which is going to hurt the markets. The stock market is going to just completely crumble for some of these companies if they can't sell some of their products. But we'll see what happens. But as always, as I know more, I promise I'll come back on and share all latest news and updates. Just want to thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your Friday. Have an incredible weekend this weekend as well. If you guys have any questions, please ask your questions down in the comment section below. Again, thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.